Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Radhanath Swaminiti Namini. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini. Om Jnanathmirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Kurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sakagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpadi Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namusute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarvyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vachapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Isvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraham Anadi Radhir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. We have successfully started the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita last week, and in Bhagavad Gita we are understanding that why first of all this knowledge was spoken to Arjuna, so that we are understanding. Because Arjuna in the battlefield, he was completely confused and he didn't have any other choice at all. So he didn't know what to do. So that was his situation, his problems actually. We understood very clearly what was his problem. Even though in that battle, everybody else were actually, they were normal, they were fighting, they were planning to fight. But Arjuna could see that both sides are his relatives, both sides are his well-wishers, friends, and all kinds of relations. So what he thought that, what is he going to get out of this war? Because he told Arjuna that I have come here to fight. So for whom I have come here to fight, they themselves have come here to fight, and they are ready to give up their lives, and they are actually ready to fight with me and ready to give up their lives. So that's what Arjuna told. So, O Govinda, of what avail to us or a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? That's what Arjuna told Krishna. That was his problem, because he could see all kinds of friends, relatives like teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me. Why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? That's what he was saying. So they may even kill me. They are ready to even kill me. But why should I wish to kill them? So I'm not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. So the three worlds, what he is referring to, like the heavenly planets, earthly planets, and hellish planets. So there are so many planets we already know, but they are divided into three categories. So that's why he says that three worlds actually. So that way, Arjuna is not willing to fight, because he's thinking like, what is going to gain? So normally when you go for war, or when you go for work or do something, it is for the benefit of our friends, relatives, our family, especially our family members and everyone. So here he is in a situation that he has to fight with his own kinsmen and kill them and gain the kingdom. And what is he going to do with that after gaining that kingdom? So that's what his problem. So that is a very difficult situation what he got. Even in this material world, right now also we see people are sometimes, even they fight with their own siblings or relatives and kill each other, and all such things are happening. So, but Arjuna was actually thinking, he was telling Krishna that I cannot fight, because how can I counterattack them with arrows? So he was saying that O killer of Madhu, O killer of enemies. So Arjuna was addressing Krishna as Arisudana, Madhusudana. So that means killer of enemies, killer of Madhu. Madhu is a demon. So Krishna killed him. So that's why his name is Madhusudana. So how can I counterattack with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? So Bhishma is actually Arjuna's grandfather, and Drona is his teacher who taught him how to shoot arrows, how to fight, all the fighting skills what he got from his teacher Dronacharya. So now they both are on the opposite side. So his situation is that how can I actually counterattack them with arrows? It would be better to live in this world by begging them to live at the cost of the lives of great souls. So that's what he was saying. And so he told Krishna that I don't know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. So Nachaitad Vidmaha Kataranno Gariyo Yadva Jayema Yadivana Jay. So this is the situation. Arjuna is confused and he is asking Krishna to tell him actually what is good for me. So that's what. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Yashreyasyan Nishchitam Bruhitanmi. So in that condition, he surrendered unto you and he was asking guidance from his very best friend Krishna, because Arjuna and Krishna, they are cousins and they were best friends from childhood friends. So that way, but Arjuna is now treating Krishna as his teacher, and disciple means I am your student. So Sishyas te agam, you please instruct me. So I am surrendering unto you, you please instruct me. So in this attitude, when he asked this knowledge, so that's where Krishna is teaching Arjuna that we are not the body, we are the soul. So the scientific understanding of the soul, we already understood very clearly in the second chapter. So Krishna has taught very, very clearly. So in the second chapter, especially this sloka number 11 to 30, we studied, understood that the soul is actually, we are not the body, we are the soul, and the soul can never be killed, and the soul has neither birth nor death at any point of time. And the soul actually, it can be transmigrated from one body to another. And scientifically, we understood in that chapter that this body is changing all the time. So from boyhood to youth, youth to old age. So this body keeps changing. So similarly, at the time of death, we will get another body. So this reincarnation is very clearly explained here. It is very scientific. So there is no difficulty in understanding this, because we are changing the body. We are already reincarnating in this life itself. We are changing the bodies. So that concept we already understood very clearly in the last several sessions. So when we are not the body, we are the soul. But why we are inside this body and struggling? So that is the question. Why we are suffering inside this body? Because this body is temporary. We are in this body, but this body is going to die. This body is going to come to an end. That means our life is going to come to an end. And it can come to an end at any day, any time, by any means. We don't even know how that is going to happen. So that way, this life, this human life, especially this human body, is very special, which we should use it for actually liberating ourselves from this material bondage. So that's what Krishna in the second chapter was teaching us about karma bandha and janma bandha. So karma bandha means the bondage to karma, bondage to work. Janma bandha means the bondage to birth. So that means we are bound to take birth. That means we are forced to take birth, accept body in this material world. So that understanding, scientific understanding, we have very well understood from this chapter. So that is what is called janma bandha. And once we are forced to accept this material body, and Krishna is saying that having got this body, so without working, there is nothing good for us. So we have to work. So we are forced to work. So we are forced to accept this material body and we are forced to work. So these two things. So that is known as Janma Bandha and Karma Bandha. So now we are not the body, we are the soul, but we are forced to accept this material body. and we are forced to work in this world, and we identify ourselves with this body because of ignorance, because of not having the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. We think that I am so and so. So I am a male or female, or I am a citizen of this country or that country, or I belong to this race or that race. All such things we think, we identify ourselves with the body without realizing that, without understanding that we are the soul. So once we get this knowledge of the soul, that we are not the body, we are the soul, then we should be able to see everyone equally, everything equally. So that's what in the 5th chapter, Krishna says that Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaga. So that's what he says. A Pandita will see with equal vision. So that's why a Pandita Samadarshina, the humble sages by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eat. So this is just given us as an example. So like that, any other species, any other animals, anything, all are, a Pandita means a person who has got the knowledge, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So that's what he is, a Pandita. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Sunichaiva Swapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaga. So that kind of, we should be able to see everyone equally once we get this knowledge. Without this knowledge, we will not be doing that. We will identify ourselves with the body only. So only with the bodily identification, we think based on the color, based on the race, based on other things, how a person looks and all such things, we identify. But that is a very, very wrong identification. So really speaking, we are not the body, we are the soul. So if that way, if we identify, so then we can understand very well that we are struggling in this world. We are suffering in this world. Because of this material body, it brings all kinds of problems. Because this body itself is a machine. It's a yantra. Any yantra, any machine, actually, it will also fail. It will fail. And it also needs repair. And when the damage is beyond repair, so we have to just throw it away. We have to send it to junkyard. So like a car, new car, when we buy, when we use it, when we drive and put a lot of miles on it, so at the end, so when we cannot use it anymore, we cannot fix it anymore, so we are sending it to junkyard. So like that only our body also. So to the extent possible, we use it when it works, but when it is not working, so then this body will die. So that way, we need to understand that this body is a machine, and we need to now use this machine. So especially with the human body, with the human brain, so we can actually do much more than the animals can do. So that's the main difference. So with the human body, especially we have a very huge frontal lobe where all kinds of thinking, executive actions can happen. So using that, one should inquire, one should ask, so who am I? What is the goal of this life? So all such things. So that the answer is there in this Bhagavad Gita. That's what we are getting. So that way, in the 6th chapter, we studied very clearly about how to control the mind. So that is the Dhyana Yoga. So we understood about the Karma Yoga also and the Dhyana Yoga also. So Karma Yoga means one should work and without any attachment to the results. So not getting affected by the results. So in the 2nd chapter, in the sloka number 47, Krishna is very clearly saying about that, teaching us that you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action, because we think that the results belong to us. We think that we are the cause of the results. So I am the one, I did it and I get the results, so it belongs to me. So that's what we think. But Krishna is saying very clearly that never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities. So there's so many things are happening. Even in our body also, a lot of things are happening, starting from the digestion system and There are so many blood circulation, circulatory system, all such things. They are all working in sync. Actually, that's why our body is working. That's why we are able to do something. If there is some problem, even if the temperature of our body rises by 1 degree, we cannot even do a lot of things. If it rises even more, then we cannot even get out of the bed. So we need to understand that we are not simply the doer. So that's why Krishna is teaching that never consider yourself the cause of the results of activities and never be attached, not doing your duty. So each and every line, Karmanya eva adhikaraste, you have a right to perform your duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. So never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities and never be attached to not doing your duty. So if we are able to follow these things, understand this Bhagavad Gita and do the Karma Yoga, so that means we can release ourselves from the bondage to work. So by doing this Karma Yoga, this Karma Bandha, we will be able to release. So that's what Krishna is teaching us, that this Karma Bandha and our Janma Bandha, so one can release actually by just by focusing, by just engaging in devotional service to the Lord. Great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries. So that means we understand from Bhagavad Gita that there is a life where there are no more miseries. So Anamaya. Anamaya means there are no miseries. So there is a life that is permanent, which is not changing. So how we can achieve that? We can achieve that only by giving up the attachment to the results in this life. So only by giving up all such attachments, so we can actually free ourselves from this bondage to this material world. So that's what Krishna is teaching. And how that can happen? So that can happen by controlling our mind. Because the problem is that what is getting attached to the results? Our mind is getting attached to the results. And our mind is focusing on the sense objects. So if our mind is not getting disturbed, so that means if it is not getting attached to the results, so then actually we can lead a happy life. So that way we can free ourselves from this material bondage. So for that only this Dhyana Yoga, so what we studied, this how to control the mind. So just focusing on this, Krishna is teaching that this to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should, so that's what, should lay kusa grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. So these things are not applicable for us right now because we are not going to forest and to do all those things, only doing this at home. But what one should do is that this is very important. One should hold one's body, neck and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Again, so this thing should be definitely corrected. It is not stare steadily at the tip of the nose. It is not possible. So we just have to look down. So it is actually Nasikagram Swam, means it is down towards the nose. That is the main thing. Because otherwise our eyes will hurt. So that means you should not be looking at any other directions. So that is what is the main thing. So this is Cha Navalokya. So thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So that is the way we can control mind. So we studied that from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So that's what we studied earlier. And then Arjuna asks the question that mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. So to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Krishna also agreed there is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So that's what, practice and detachment. So these are the two things are very important. Practice is important. If you practice chanting that Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that's what we started also chanting at the end of our session, chanting one round of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is 108 times. So that means calling Krishna only. Krishna's another incarnation is Rama. So that's why calling Krishna and Rama. So that way, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are connecting with Krishna because Krishna is saying that Manasamyamya Machitto. Only by focusing our mind on God, only then we can actually control our mind. So that's why manasamyamya machitto. So he's saying that you just focus on me. So that's why one should meditate upon me. So that's why manasamyamya machitto. So that if we do it, we will actually control our mind. But Arjuna asked that what if a person who is in the beginning, who takes the process of self-realization with faith, but later desists due to worldly mindedness. So what is going to happen? So this is my doubt. You dispel it completely. So Krishna is saying that a person who has attempted and who is trying to control mind, so he is not going to he is never overcome by evil. So that's what Krishna says. Because he again comes back and takes birth in a very transcendentalist family of transcendentalists. So then such a birth is very rare. So in such a birth is rare in this world. So that way, even we got the opportunity to study this Bhagavad Gita. It's really very rare. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Samahatma Sudur Labhaga, such great souls are very rare. So not everyone will take participation in this or will get interested in this. So it's really a very rare thing what we got it. So then on taking such a birth, he revised the divine consciousness of his previous life. So that way we'll keep continuing, we'll keep progressing in controlling our mind. So whatever mind control we achieve in this life, it's going to be with us. It's going to continue with us in the next life, which we are not going to lose. Otherwise, materially speaking, whatever we achieve, we are going to lose, materially speaking. So all these things we already studied. And then in the 7th chapter, we studied about Krishna's knowledge of the absolute. So there we studied and understood that this earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intelligence, false ego, all these things, Krishna is saying that they are my separated material energies. All together, these 8, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And then he says that the living entity, so that is the superior nature. There is another superior energy of mind which comprise the living entities. So that's what Krishna is teaching. But he's saying that both are these natures. Actually, I am the source, I am the origin and the dissolution. So that's what Krishna is teaching. And he is very clearly saying that there is no truth superior to me. So everything rests upon me as pearls are strung upon a thread. So that way we studied all those things. And then he says about the 3 modes of material nature. So there is the goodness, passion, and ignorance. So sattva, raja, and tamo gunas. So they are actually very difficult to overcome. It's very difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So that's why we are all controlled by the 3 modes of material nature. We already studied in the 3rd chapter that all the activities are carried out only by these 3 modes of material nature. Only we think that we are doing, but foolishly we think that we are doing. So that's why ahankara vimudatma kartaka miti manyati. But we are not the doer. So everything is done by the 3 modes of material nature. So what mode of nature is influencing us? That's what is doing everything. If we are in the mode of goodness, we do things in a different way. If we are in the mode of passion or mode of ignorance, then we do things in a different way. So that's why these 3 modes of material nature are forcing us to do everything. So we understood all these things and one important thing, Krishna says that after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prabhatyate vasudevaga sarvam miti samahatma sudurlabhaga. Such great soul is very rare. So that's what he says. So that way we understand everything. And jara marana mokshaya mamashitya yadanti te brahma tadvidu krishnam adhyatmam karma chagilam. So those who are endeavoring from old age and death, liberation from old age and death, they take refuge in me. So that's what Krishna is teaching. So then he said some new words in these 2 slokas. That's what Arjuna asked questions. We started last week in the 8th chapter. So when Krishna used here in this 29th sloka in the 7th chapter, Te Brahma Tadviduhu Krishna means they know they are Brahman. So that's why Krishna is saying that they are actually Brahman, Te Brahma. So we need to understand that when we belong to this material world, So we are a jiva. So this is known as jiva bhuta in the material world. When the soul, we are not the body, we are the soul. So that means we are spiritual. But when we are in this material world, it is known as jiva bhuta. But when we are able to get liberation from this janma bandha and karma bandha, that means bondage to birth and bondage to work. And then when we are able to go to spiritual world, so that is known as Brahma Bhuta. So this is Jiva Bhuta, that is known as Brahma Bhuta. So that's why he is saying that they are actually Brahman, because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Adhyatma, Karma, Chayakilam. So this word Brahma and Adhyatma, so it's a new words. So which Arjuna also didn't know. And even in the next sloka, Krishna is saying even more new words. Adibhuta, Sadibhutadi Devam Mam. So Adibhuta and then Adidevam, then Adiyajnam, Sadiyajnam. So Sadibhutadi Devam Mam, Sadiyajnam Chaye Viduhu, Prayana Kale Pichamam, Tevidur Yukta Chetasagam. So prayana kalam means at the time of leaving. So at the time of travel, prayana means travel. So that means death. So at the time of death, so the soul is traveling, the soul is leaving this body. So prayana kalim, mam vidu, they know me. So that's what mam vidu means, they know me. So that's what Krishna is saying. Now in the 8th chapter, that's what we started last week. So Arjuna is asking, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are the fruitive activities? So same words, whatever Arjuna used, Krishna used in the previous sloka. Tat kim tat Brahma. What is Brahma? What is Adhyatma? What is Adibhuta? What is Adideva? So all such things he is asking. And similarly, what is Adiyajna? And then how to know you at the time of death? Prayana kalecha katam nyayosi niyatatma. So this is what we are going to focus more, this last question. So, and how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? So this is what we are going to focus more. Krishna is actually, all other questions he answered in the next 2 slokas itself. The next 2 slokas he answered. He said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead said the indestructible, transcendental, living entity is called Brahman. So the soul is called Brahman. And his eternal nature is called Adhyatma. So that is known as Swabhava. Swabhava means one's own nature. Each and every soul has got its own nature based on the 3 modes of material nature. So Swabhava Prabhavai Gunaihi. Swabhava Prabhavai Gunaihi. Guna means the 3 modes of nature. And Swabhava means that's what one's own nature. So one's own nature is based on his or her own swabhava. So that's why each and every individual has got their own individual characteristics. So that is basically coming from these 3 modes of material nature only. So that is what is known as swabhava, and that is called as adhyatma. And then action pertaining to the development of material bodies is known as karma. So that way karma is starting even when we use our motor nervous system in our body, our legs, hands and everything. So we are actually karma. We are performing duty, action. So karma means action. So then Adibutam Sharobhavaga. Adibutam means all our body which is made up of these material elements. So that is what is known as Adibutam. So the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adibutam. That's what the material manifestation. That is known as Adibutam. And then Adidevam means there are a lot of other demigods they are controlling, like the sun, moon, and they are all Adideva, the god for the sun, moon, and all. So, and then I, the Supreme Lord, represented as the super soul in the heart of every embodied being, I am called Adiyajna. So Krishna is Adiyajna. So that's what in the next 2 slokas he answered all the questions except the last question. So that is how to know you at the time of death. So that's what Arjuna asked. So that we studied. So Krishna is saying that Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samsi. So very important scientific fact what Krishna is teaching us in these 2 slokas, 8.5 and 8.6, is actually what we remember at the time of death, we will get it. So it all depends upon our mindset. So what we are going to remember. So that's what is very important. Whatever we remember, it's like a death wish. So whatever we remember at the time of death, that kind of body we will get. Because everything group together our mind only. That's why in the 15th chapter, Krishna says that Sotram Chaksugu Sparsanam Rasanam Granam Evacham Adistaya Manaschayam Vishayan Upasevate. So that's what he says there. So he says that depending upon like the living entity, thus taking another grass body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So what type of body we are going to get? What type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch we are going to get? It's all grouped together, grouped about the mind. Adhishtaya Manaschaya. So that's why how controlling mind is very, very important. So what we are going to remember at the time of death, so that is very, very important. Because Krishna is teaching very clearly that whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, so that state he will attain without fail. So what we are going to remember at the time of death, we are going to get. If you remember anything in this material world, so we are going to keep coming back to this material world, taking another material body. But if we don't remember anything in this material world, if we are completely able to connect ourselves with God, so our mind is, that means our mind is completely peaceful, not agitated at all. So then we are actually not going to come back here. We are going to go to God. So that's why Krishna is teaching that, therefore, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. So you, with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. So this is the science. So scientifically, Krishna is teaching very clearly that our mind should not be thinking about anything in this material world at all. So for that, actually, what he says that at the time of death, one who fixes his life here between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of God. So that is the way we can actually go to the spiritual world, get liberation from the material world. So that's what we understand, that we are not the body, we are the soul. And in this material world, everything is made up of matter and everything is going to change. We know that everything, there is a bond, like covalent bond, ionic bond, this bond, hydrogen bond, so many bonds actually. So because of bonds, these atoms are coming together, molecules are coming together, biomolecules, our body is made up of all these biomolecules. It's all things which is made up of matter. We already know very well. So that way we understand that even in the proteins also there is a peptide bond. So all different bonds, everything. So that way this material world, everything is changing, but we are not the matter. We are the soul. But why we should be struggling in this body? So we should attain a life which should be permanent and blissful. So that's what is teaching here. Krishna is saying that this is he says that for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pratap, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. That's why remembering God, remembering Krishna is very important. Then it is easy. And then after obtaining me, he says that one never return to this temporary well. So that is another important thing. Mamupetya tu punarjanma dukkale masaswadam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gati. So that's what he says there. So one which is full of miseries, dukkale. This material world is full of miseries. So one will never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries. That's what dukkhalayam asaswadam. This is the material world. Whereas Krishna's world is sukhalayam saswadam, spiritual world, where it is permanent and no miseries. It's full of bliss, not full of miseries, full of bliss. So that's why in this material world, even from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, even in this material world also, we know that there are so many planets. And there are some planets are much better than Earth. A lot of things are really great there. You can enjoy. So they are highest planets. So that's what is known as heaven actually here. And down to the lowest means there are hellish planets. They are much worse than the earth actually. So everywhere we go, repeated birth and death takes place. Wherever you take birth, again we have to die. But only if we go and take birth in Goloka, Krishna's will, so then he never takes birth again. So that because we don't die at all. So now he is teaching about, because he said about the Brahman Lokam. So Abrahma Bhuvana Lokam. So this highest planet. So what Krishna is referring to, Brahma Bhuvana Loka. So there is a Brahma Loka. So which is the highest planet in the material world. There is a Satya Loka, it's known as Brahma Loka. It is the highest planet in the material world. So now Krishna is teaching what we are going to cover today. So the calculation, the timing actually, he says that by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day. So that itself scientifically Krishna is teaching. We already know with our modern science, with technology, everything, we know that the days and nights in different planets are compared to Earth, they are different. So depending upon how far that is away from the sun and how it is traveling around the sun, all such things. So the day and night varies. So that is already here discussed very clearly. Krishna is teaching us that if you go to Brahmaloka, so in Brahma's world, so what is happening is that it is 1,000 ages here in this earth. 1,000 ages means it is Sahasra Yugam, means some calculation is there we need to understand. So there are 4 yugas together is known as one Mahayuga. So that is what is known as one age. So one age, one Mahayuga, it comprises four yugas. So that is Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga. Krita Yuga and Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. So what we are in right now, it is Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga actually 432,000 years is Kali Yuga. And 2 times Kali Yuga, that is before Kali Yuga, there was Dwapara Yuga. And Krishna came at the end of Dwapara Yuga. So the Dwapara Yuga is 2 times Kali Yuga. So that means it's 864,000 years. So then before that, Treta Yuga. So Treta Yuga is actually 3 times Kali Yuga. So that way we need to keep adding. So that way it is 864,000 years. Then 1200, that is 1200. So 1200 and basically 96,000 years. So like that it goes. So basically, so that way this. Then Mahayuga, then the Krita Yuga is 4 times Kali Yuga. So totally 10 times Kali Yuga is actually, 10 times Kali Yuga is actually known as one Yuga. So that is what is one Yuga. So 432 years times 10, which is equal to 4.32 million years. So 4.32 million years is equivalent to one Mahayuga. That is known as one age. So one age. And 1,000 ages means 1,000 times 4.32 million, which is equal to 4.32 billion years. So that is what is known as one day for Brahma, 12 hours for Brahma. So that's what that calculation is given here. So all those calculations are given here in this thing. So basically what we understand is that 4.32 billion years is known as one day for Brahma. So if we look at our solar system, what is the age of our solar system? So if you go and like Google or look at in NASA website or somewhere, this is roughly right now we are around 4.3 billion years right now, the age of this earth itself. So it is an order of magnitude, it's very, very similar. And we know for sure that this earth is not going to be there forever. And especially the sun is actually growing all the time. It is becoming big, and it is it's going to at some point of time, like there won't be any water in the earth at all. We are looking for water in other planets, but there won't be water in earth at all, because now itself we are worried about the global warming and all such things. So if we talk in terms of billion years, in the next another billion years, there won't be any water, there won't be any life in this earth at all. So that way, what Krishna is teaching here, that this is one day for Brahma is 4.32 billion years, but the coming slokas, what Krishna is teaching actually in this thing, At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. So this is what is known as manifest means Vyakta, unmanifest means Avyakta. So that's what Avyaktat Vyaktayaga Sarvaga Prabhavanti Ahar Agame. Ahar means day and Ratri means night. When Brahma's day starts, so everything is created. All these things, as far as our earth, our solar system here is concerned, it's all created when Brahma's day starts. And when Brahma's night falls, everything is annihilated. So there is no life. So another 12 hours of Brahma, another 4.32 billion years, everything is annihilated. There is no life, nothing. So everything is, that's what Avyaktat Vyaktayaga Sarvaga Prabhavanti Ahar Agam. So that's what is happening. And this Brahma is actually, there are billions of Brahmas are there. There are billions of universes are there, billions of things. So that's why billions of galaxies. So we already know that there are billions of galaxies. There are, in each galaxies, there are billions of solar systems, billions of suns are all there. We already know that our galaxy is a Milky Way galaxy. So all these things are very clearly given in the Shastra. So that way, everywhere there is creation, annihilation, all such things are keep on happening. So based on Brahma's day and night. Even Brahma's world also is going to get annihilated at some point of time. So that way, it's all this Big Bang, Big Crunch, all these things is actually very well understood here. So this is not, this earth itself is not going to be here. So this itself is temporary. So that's why at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest. So when the souls are having a body, so that is known as Vyakta. When the souls are not having a body, so that is known as Avyakta. So only when we are manifest, means when we have this body, so we are manifest. So when the body is not there, then unmanifest. That is known as Avyakta. So that's why in the second chapter itself, Krishna taught that Avyaktat, that is Avyaktadini Bhutani, Vyakta Madhyani Bharata, Avyakta Nidanani Eva, Tatraka Paridevana. So that's what in the seventh chapter itself, he introduced this Avyakta, Vyakta and all we already studied. So he says very clearly that all created beings are manifest in their beginning and unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? That's what Krishna is asking Arjuna. There is Avyaktadini Bhutani, Vyakta Madhyani Bharata, Avyakta Nidanani. Adini means beginning, Madhyani means middle, Nidanani at the end. So in the beginning we are unmanifest, and in the middle we are manifest, at the end we are unmanifest again. So that means we are manifest now. So that means now Brahma's day is going on. So we will keep changing bodies during Brahma's day. For these 12 hours of Brahma, which is for 4.32 billion years, we will be taking millions and millions of bodies. So so that's what is happening. So we'll keep changing bodies, dying, death, again take another body, then die, again take another body. That's what is happening. But when Brahma's night falls, then another 4.32 billion years, we cannot change any bodies, we cannot get any bodies, we will get into the Avyakta state. So that's what Krishna is teaching, that at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state, and thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. But if we go to Krishna's world, this is known as creation and annihilation. This is known as creation, Prabhava and Pralaya. So what Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita, if we go to Goloka, Krishna's way, if we get this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, if we are able to free ourselves from the bondage to birth and bondage to Janma Bandha and Karma Bandha, birth and work in this way. So Krishna is saying that I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all sages have attained the supreme perfection. So by becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. So that's what is avyakta, avyakta. So when this world is created and this world is annihilated, nothing is going to happen to us if we go to Krishna's world. So that's what we need to understand. So that place is not disturbed at all. And for that, we just have to do that. We just have to get this knowledge. So that's what, by becoming fixed in this knowledge. Idam jnanam upashitya mama sadharmyam agata. So idam jnanam, this knowledge, upashitya, taking shelter unto this knowledge. If we take shelter unto this knowledge, then we will attain Krishna's nature. So then when this world is created, we won't be taking birth. When it's annihilated, we won't be disturbed. So that's what in the 8th chapter about attaining the Supreme. So that's what we are studying. This is attaining the Supreme. If we go to Krishna, that's what is going to happen. But otherwise, we will go through this cycle again and again, and 1,000 yugas, basically 1,000 ages for Brahma's day, will keep changing bodies, and another Brahma's day, another 4.32 billion years, we will not have any body, all such things. So that's why Krishna is saying that again and again when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. Bhutagramaga sayevayam bhutva praliyate ratriyagame avasagapartha prabhavati agaragame. So that's what is going to happen. So this is, we are understanding very clearly. So now Krishna is teaching here, yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. So it is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So that's what he says. So paraga tasmatu bhavonyo avyakto vyaktat sanatanaga yasya sarvesu bhutesu nasyatsu na vinashyati. So that's why that which is known as the supreme destination, so that's what param gatim, having attained it, one never returns. So that is my supreme abode. So yadgatva na nivartante taddama paramam mama, yam prapya na nivartante taddama paramam mama. So if we reach that place, we will not come back. So that Krishna is saying that that is my supreme abode, taddama paramam mama. So that abode is mine, which is supreme abode. So that's what Krishna is teaching about, teaching here, how to go to that place. So that we already understood very clearly, that simply at the time of death, if we remember Krishna, we'll go to Krishna's will. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there is no doubt. So that's what he says. So that way, if we understand this Bhagavad Gita very well, we know that we are not the body, we are the soul. And we are able to connect with God, and simply by remembering him at the time of death, we will just go there. So that means we don't have to go through this cycle of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death forever, which is happening in this material way. So that way, Krishna is saying that although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him. So even though he is there and he is all pervading, he is everywhere, and he has the supreme consciousness of everything. So that's what we need to understand. So now here, these things is for our knowledge, but we really don't have to worry much. That's what he says at the end, Krishna, because I shall now explain to you the different times at which passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. So this is applicable only to yogis. So when Krishna is teaching us about the different timings at which you'll die, we will go or we will come back, all such things. So it's not for everyone, it's only for yogis. But yogis are not worried about that. So yogis means those who are the students of Bhagavad Gita, following Bhagavad Gita. That's what they are, yogis. So those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of fairy god in the light at an auspicious, the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. So that is known as Uttarayanam, and the fortnight of the waxing moon, and the mystic who passes away from this well during smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet and again comes back. So all these things. We may ask question, oh, there is no soul, there is no living entity, nobody can live in the moon. So how this is possible also? These are all beyond our imagination, because it's all talking about the soul. So the soul only, soul even here also we can't see the soul going and coming back. So that's what Krishna is referring here. But the important point what we understand is that even for the yogis to reach that supreme abode, it all depends upon at what time one dies actually. So that's why there are two ways of passing from this well, one in light and one in darkness. And when one passes in light, he does not come back. And when one passes in darkness, he returns. But the important point, what we need to understand is, although the devotees know these two paths, they are never bewildered. So, naite sthiti partha jnanam yogi mukhyati kaschana. So, tasmat sarvesu kalesu yoga yukto bhavarjuna. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. That's it. So, that part we really don't have to worry. So, that is actually whatever happens, as long as we understand that we are not the body, we are the soul, as long as we get this Bhagavad Gita knowledge and able to free ourselves from the reactions to our actions. So, that's what is very important. So, that means we are able to control our mind. We are not attached to material sense objects, and our mind is very peaceful, which is not disturbed at all with this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So then these things actually will automatically happen whenever there is our chance to get out of this well. It is definitely going to happen whenever we achieve that full 100% of control over our mind. So this is going to happen. So that's why Krishna is teaching that a person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. There are so many people, they do different things, all kinds of things to achieve. But what Krishna is teaching is that if we just get this knowledge, if we just follow this Bhagavad Gita, if we just follow this path of devotional service, then we are actually going to get all the results. If a person who does all these things, these results automatically come to us. So that's why simply by performing devotional service, he attains all this. So Vedesu, Yagnesu, Tapasu Chaiva, Danesu, Yat Punya Palam Pradishtam, Atyeti Tatsarvam Idam Viditva, Yogi Param Sthanam Upaiti Chadyam. And at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So that's what is very important. So simply by performing devotional service, he attains all this, and at the end, he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So as we discussed in the earlier, like in the previous sessions, as I informed, that first 6 chapters, especially the chapters 2 to 5, 6, it's all about ourself, the soul. So that's what we understood very clearly. And then from the 7th chapter to 12th chapter, it's all about the super soul, about Krishna. So that's what we are getting. We are getting that knowledge. So then from the 13th to 18th chapter, it is a lot about the 3 modes of material nature, how to get rid of the 3 modes of material nature and how the modes of nature is controlling us. So everything we are going to understand that thing very clearly. So we have successfully finished the 8th chapter, the second part of the 8th chapter now. And I will stop now and we will discuss if any questions are there. So, yeah. So, Kari, you could hear everything clearly today?
Yes, and I've got a couple questions.
Yes.
One of them is, so the soul is called Brahman, but so is a group of people, and so is a group of knowledge, and so is one of the avatars of Krishna. Why is there so much use of the same word or the root word for so many different ideas? Or is this just kind of a translation into English issue?
Yes, it is just the issue. So Brahman here, actually, one thing we need to understand, that Brahman refers to anything related to like a spiritual realm. So that's what is Brahman. So it's just the issue only. Like here, whenever he refers Brahman, sometimes he refers to himself. So he is also Brahman. Even Arjuna also says that Param Brahma. So Krishna is also Param Brahma. He is the supreme Brahman. So Krishna is also, and we are also Brahman. The soul is also Brahman. So there is only Brahman. At certain only one or two slokas only when that word also refers to Vedas. But otherwise, there is no confusion. It is Brahman. It means it is we are actually we are soul. We don't belong to this material world. This material world is only, that's why Krishna is saying that this is a jiva bhuta. So it's a jivatma. When we are here, we are known as jiva. So once we I don't understand that we don't belong to this earth. This is temporary place. So then once we are able to control our mind, so then that is known as, once we are able to find happiness within ourselves, so that is known as we are actually in the Brahma Bhuta platform. So that's why Krishna is saying that Yonta Sukho Antararamaga Tatantaga Jyotirevayaga Sayogi Brahma Nirvana Brahma Bhuto Adigachati. So that's what he says there. So that's what he uses the word Brahma Nirvanam and then Brahma Bhuto Adigachati. So that way, one who is happiness, one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and is ultimately he attains the Supreme. So that's why Krishna is saying, and in another sloka also in the 14th chapter, Krishna is saying that Brahmanohi Pradishtagam Amritasya Avyayasya cha Sasvatasya cha Dharmasya Sukasya Kanti Tasya. So that means I established the Brahman. I am the basis of the Brahman. So which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So that way, this is everywhere it is the same meaning. It refers to the spiritual world, also it refers to Brahman, and anything related to spiritual world, the souls who have achieved that Brahma Bhuta platform, they are also Brahman. So all those things, it refers to Brahman. You got it?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So you have any other question, you said?
Yeah, I was curious about, and I've been reading ahead a bit, so some of this is coming from some later portions as well. So since souls can be in any form of body of living creatures, including animals and plants, how can souls that are in some of those non-human bodies meditate or intentionally fulfill their duties? Or how can they move beyond those bodies by meditating on Krishna at the point of death? Because like I don't think plants can meditate. Maybe they can. I don't know.
Not do that. They will eventually get a human body at some point of time, and they will get the opportunity. So it is actually what we do when we are having a human body is what very important. That's what either take us further towards Krishna, and we will actually control our mind, or we can go back down to the lower species of life and again come back to human body. So this is also a process of evolution. What we call it as general evolution, we see that the species are evolving, but here the soul is also evolving through different species. That's what we need to understand. So for example, if we say that there were dinosaurs and all those things, different animals. In fact, all these souls only, we were, who knows, we were also some part of in the past time, we maybe had some dinosaur body or different things, correct? So this is all, the soul is evolving. The soul is evolving through different species. But once they get the human body, so that's what such a birth is very rare. So this human body, only our brain actually, it all depends upon what our brain can do. That is the main question. So that's what I mentioned. Even all other animals, so their brain is very small. Even their size maybe they are huge, but the brain is not as big as human. So only for the human, the brain is very, very big. Actually, even cow or elephant, all those things we take, their brains are not as big. Especially we have frontal lobe, very huge frontal lobe, big frontal lobe. So there are 4 lobes in our brain. So in that frontal lobe is the one all these things are happening, like thinking or asking, inquiring, all these things. So that way, they have to definitely evolve to get a human body to think. Even in the human life itself, not everybody is really only 1 in 1,000. That's what we studied, correct? Only 1 in 1,000 will endeavor for perfection. So that way, it's a really, really rare, even like going to like realize ourselves and liberate ourselves from this veil. So it's a very rare thing. Yeah.
Okay. So theoretically, then the information in the Bhagavad Gita applies just to people, and plants and animals would theoretically have their own rules by which they abide, and it's not our business.
That is correct. They are not
Okay.
subjected to papa or punya, like good or bad deeds, reactions. They are not going to face any reactions for their actions. These things are not going to affect them at all. So only
Okay.
a human life, human body, with human body, what we do. So that's what is going to bind us. For them, it is all binding them because they were previously, even in this human life, if we don't do good, then if we think, if we are very animalistic in behavior, then we won't get another human body. Then we'll get animal body. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very important question. Thank you for asking that question. And like you could hear everything clearly today?
Yes, everything was very clear. And I don't think I have any questions for now.
Okay, very good. Yes, very nice. Yeah, I think it's nice. We will continue like this. I think this is working very well. And then maybe next semester when it starts, if possible, I will come in person also sometimes. We will continue this. And yeah, Karan, I think hopefully after exam he finishes, he will join. I think. Okay, thank you. And have a nice rest of the day. So we will again see next Sunday. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.